All right, I am live. As noted in other videos of mine, this is really the only way I can upload videos because I tend to overthink and what I'm going to say and topics I'm going to cover. The only way I can actually make a video and post it is if I go live, no script. Maybe I'll try a script another time, but stream of consciousness is really the best way for me to go. Bishop Barron. So I am a lapsed Catholic. Being Catholic was a big part of my life. I was both intellectually and emotionally heavily involved. I went to a Catholic school in California through grade school and high school. I was homeschooled for a good portion of that. My parents were devout Catholics. The high school I went to, we had Latin Mass 3 times a week, English Mass on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We learned Latin and Greek. We started off right away with philosophy, the Greeks, Plato, Aristotle, and then, straight from the source text. It wasn't mediated and dumbed down for us. Then we got to medieval philosophy, and then I went to Franciscan University, which I'm sure you know. I think you've talked there before. And I majored in philosophy, and I also majored in business, a double major, just to justify the expense, which ended up not actually justifying it. It was kind of a huge money pit because it's a private school that I'm not in that state natively. So, yeah. I appreciate the intellectual side you're taking. I respect you for that. I know that from your perspective, people that aren't 100% on board with Catholicism, it's God's working through them, or if they're exposed to the right argument, or intellectually rigorous enough, or if they maybe waiting on God's grace. But you're talking to somebody. Well, I'm talking to you, so you're watching somebody who I am basically you could say a jilted lover, coming out of an abusive relationship. So I hold God to the same standards I'd hold any human being at a minimum. And then according to his capacity, I hold him to a higher standard. And one thing that was sort of the crack in the porcelain, or whatever turn of phrase you want to use, I was fine with the problem of evil and the problem of suffering, the theodicies of free will, and beneficial suffering for a greater outcome. But there are types of suffering that are an injustice that cannot be reconciled with any post event or post payback. If you traumatize a kid so that he could have $1 million later in life, if the damage has been done, it's done. Let's say he goes to heaven for all eternity. It was still an injustice that it happened, in my view. And one thing that made this completely inescapable for me was the suffering that came with believing an injustice had occurred when in fact an injustice had not occurred. That itself is an injustice. So there's just like it's self-defeating to say that there's no such thing as consciousness or self-awareness or language, injustice exists at all. And, as a parent, I love my children and I want what's best for them. Now, if in their ignorance, one of my children wants to hurt or harm the other child, I do not allow it. Now, am I inhibiting their free will at the on their mind's level, on their soul's level? Absolutely not. They made a choice. They're fully culpable for it. But that doesn't prevent me from protecting my children. My dad's still Catholic, and he's an infinitely better father than God ever will be. And I not only include the God of the Bible, which is one very distinct type of description of God, but also the God of Thomas Aquinas, who is, perfection in being itself, and how he conflates being with goodness. I don't know why religions persist in the face of honest intellectual challenges. I understand, and I'm a fan of Jordan Peterson and his whole idea of what the religious is and how it's sort of the bubbling subconscious before we can articulate things objectively, our behavior specifically, and why it's intertwined with morals. But maybe it just bothers me that, and maybe it's because everyone you encounter confirms this, but there's this just air of intellectual superiority, shooting off lists of philosopher names and authors, which is fine. You're entitled to that, but to support something that's so intellectually vacuous. So I took specific courses on the philosophy of God. My thesis was on Plato's proofs for the immortality of the soul and why they're insufficient. I mean, obviously, if I read that now, it would be pretty lame. But most religious people conflate the moral instinct, which is human primate social behavior, instincts that we inherited, with the immortality of the soul, which, why are they related? Ontologically or epistemologically, there's no connection. It's totally imposed. And it's nonsensical because for so many reasons. I mean, even in an all possible worlds scenario, it's just as bad as infinite regress, infinite progression. So if that's repugnant to reason, it's similar logic behind why I don't fully adopt that perspective. And then to conflate that with God, who seems like every Catholic intellectual I've talked to admits that it is a total mystery whose essence is existence, which is basically just saying God is being itself. Unbounded, so you can't define him, but you got guys, it's almost like gaslighting. You guys immediately define via negativa or however you guys do, and then say that, oh, well, he's an infinite mystery, and as soon as you understand him, that's not God, and that's just your idea of God, and blah, blah, blah. Well, you guys are sure talking a lot about and referencing that without knowing what the hell it is. We can put names on things we don't understand. We can name the unknown and talk about, or at least speculate on, what the unknown can and can't be. But, omnibenevolence. I mean, Voltaire. I was just watching a video from Rationality Rules, and he's quoting Voltaire on his observations of human suffering. And this is really the best. Like, just call me unimpressed. I mean, you guys are the ones setting up the definitions here. If this were just the natural progression of natural forces, inanimate becoming animate, unconscious becoming conscious, all the deficits from the human ideal that we observe in universe and in society make absolutely perfect sense. Entropy, why the hell would anything be good? It's amazing that anything's good at all. Evolution, the reason why I have hands with 5 fingers is because the variation that didn't allow me to make this movement was killed off by predators or by the environment. It's just kids having kids, and then half of them get killed. It's super cruel. It's a very cruel and inefficient system. So it's not commensurate with an all-perfect creator of intelligent design. Now, I'd appreciate to actually have a face-to-face discussion with you. You're definitely in the stratosphere of Catholic thinkers or even internet thinkers, so that's probably not going to happen for a long time, if ever. But there's just so much wrong. I get exhausted to even know where to begin. But a lot of the things you reference, I'm familiar with, and I'm watching how you're saying them. And I know what the alternatives are, the logical alternatives that are more reasonable. And you're just plowing along. And I probably for this video should have written them down. The whole contingency thing. I think the Messiah, TMM is his YouTube name. He's a great, concise, text-based YouTuber that also I think had a similar background to me, who just eviscerates at most theological thinkers. But no, I feel shame for adults that participated with it on this level. And I feel the waste. Just like you feel the waste of people that aren't in the church. Because I was burned, it's the same as me witnessing, let's say, an abusive lover's new girlfriend and how happy she thinks she is. I'm just like, damn, like there's guys out there that care about you, and you're wasting your thoughts and your feelings on this piece of shit that's going to screw you over. For all those that don't really care about the truth, for those that find comfort in tradition, for those that aren't actually intellectually capable of transcending the complex metaphysics of the Catholic Greek idealism mix that Catholicism is, I guess they're none the wiser. But I feel like I wasted my time. And, I would challenge what should have been the best thinkers available to me that were above me, that weren't even my peers. My professors, priests, giving me laughably inadequate answers. I was reading the catechism as thoroughly and as carefully as possible, and no, it just didn't work. I mean, you compare that to the accuracy of, even just, I'm a no fan of government, even just government city planning documents, or especially like engineering documents, computer engineering documents. They got their terms defined, exactly. They mean and refer to specific, tangible, real, practical things. And this is coming from a philosopher. I'm all about, analyzing Dasein, being, Heidegger and, Wittgenstein, analytic, versus continental. Like, it's the same feeling you get when you're reading some psychological pamphlet and it's like, oh, you should do this, and talk to a therapist, and take out the bad things in your life, and you're like, oh, this is nice, and then you look on the other side, it says Scientology. It's just like, fuck. So anyway, I'm past my 15 mark. I'm trying to not go over 15, but every time I do, once I leave my stream of consciousness, I get back and it's a little over 15. So not the best quality video, I'll admit. I'm just trying to get in the habit of making videos, and you're the next person on my list. The way I caricature you in my head is, oh, yeah. Well, you just read Augustine. Oh, you just read Anselm. I mean, he addresses completely. Oh, you don't worry about it. Ontological, blah, blah, blah. He figured all that out. It's all been addressed. Mm-hmm. Then you go and read it, and it's like the same guy who believed in like ghosts and mirror crap. Like, come on. I mean, we live in a world where Trump was elected. We live in a world where half the people believe astrology. I mean, I guess this is a game that people want to play, and it gives them structure to their moral whatever. It's just my disappointment is so great. I purposefully seek out religious thinkers and hack it out with them. And, I'm still waiting for something good. Be nice. We're all going to fucking die and really see what's up then. But I can't simultaneously be intellectually honest with myself and go this route at all. So, or support people going that route. So my tone is totally different to everyone I talk to. This is the only way I can also make YouTube videos, is to address it to a specific person. And right now I'm talking to you, Bishop Barron. So good luck. It'd be fun to maybe talk to you, and maybe you could totally own me, or whatever you want. Help me. We'll see. I mean, hey, you got years on me, got books on me. Who knows? All this evil, demonic pride in me is hampering me from seeing the light. Jesus Christ is calling out to me. Really? Jesus Christ is watching little kids get fucked and is doing nothing. Is that an example to follow? No.